Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice Podcast. My name is Elle, and I am back again to read some Law of One material and share with you my reflections on the matter. So, today I come to read you a quote and some topics that are very near and dear to my heart. This is something that I had learned quite some time ago, and I have applied it in my life as vigorously as possible. So to make it simple, I would sort of put this topic under freely give and freely receive. You know, some people might think of it as like the flow, or even might call it like the law of attraction, abundance, mindset, things of this nature. We'll also go into how this is related to giving without expectation, freely giving, and how this is all related to living in the heart with the heart chakra. As much as we use all these words, they're basically just words that describe the nature of the heart. So, since we are trying our best to live in the heart, in this fourth density awareness of love and understanding and compassion, let us discuss these topics. And this quote that I bring you today, I've got a few quotes actually lined up today, but the main one, it's very short, very succinct, yet very powerful. So let's just go ahead and read it, and then we will go from there. So this is from session 55.7 in the Law of One, the raw material, and it is quoted as such. Raw answers: things come not to those positively oriented, but through such beings. Okay, so very short, very quick, right? Let's think about this. Things come not to those positively oriented, but through such beings. So I suppose we sort of have this impression as spiritual seekers that as you do good, good things will happen to you, which isn't necessarily not true, right? But I suppose if you think of sort of the mainstream spiritual topics of like law of attraction, they sort of teach you this shallow perspective of this law. What would you call it? I suppose, this sort of law, and that's like of abundance, right? They kind of teach you like, hey, if you focus and imagine the abundance, then you yourself will become abundant, and therefore, assumedly, you would share that abundance with others. Now, as much as that sounds nice, and to what degree it might be a little bit true, I would suggest that you sort of got it backwards, or the philosophy a little bit mixed up. I would suggest it's more like, you seek to serve and do well, and good things will come to you, but not so they can come to you, but so they can come through you, right? You seek to serve. You don't seek to hoard and hold things back. You want to just go out there and give and love. And what is somebody who is feeling good, somebody who's feeling good about life and where they're at, right? And they're not worried about survival and their future, and they seem like, this sort of idea that thy will be done, like God give us today's bread, right? Like things of this nature. Like, I know that no matter what happens, all will be well. All will turn out well. If you have that kind of attitude, then you're not necessarily the type of attitude that's going to hoard something, right? Like somebody who's worried about the future is going to be contracted and hoarding things and holding resources for future whatever, right? Like future emergencies or whatever. Whereas somebody who is just under the impression that, yes, God will take care of us, this one infinite creator, give us our daily bread. Anything that comes to me is potentially could be to serve me, but is, there so it can come through me, so I may serve other people. So, I suppose let's go into freely give and freely receive a bit more. This is two sides of the same coin, okay? So I suppose, like, sometimes it's easiest, actually, for most people to wrap their heads around the concept of freely giving. So freely giving is, to make it simple, giving without expectation of return. Not necessarily withholding anything extra that you have. I'm not necessarily saying that you would give away something that you need to survive, right? I mean, you can maybe share half of it with somebody, like that Jesus guy, right? You got a sandwich, bust that bad boy in half, share it up. You can live that way, but the idea is that to freely give something, it truly has to be freely given from your consciousness. You can't feel like, I'm doing this because so and so. I'm doing this because this. I mean, you do. I suppose when you're serving, right? Like, this is kind of it's an art of being here. When you're trying to serve, you do have an intention. Obviously, you're seeking to serve. You're seeking to do something good, right? You're not seeking to do bad things. So you're going out there. You're trying to do something good. Now, how that goodness turns out is where you need to have somewhat of a detachment to the outcome. So, if I give something to somebody and I think, well, hopefully this gives them the strength to turn their life around or something like that, right? And then they don't, and then I'm disappointed and I feel like, oh, why did I give that to them? What a waste of my time and energy, money, etc., whatever. Right? I would suggest that's not the right way to do it. If you look at things in the long run, even though you attempt to serve somebody today and it may not result in exactly what you were hoping for, maybe that intention, that small freely giving thing that you had done today at a very later time, a year, 2 years later, after this person that you're trying to serve goes through some major crisis, maybe that little bit of light you gave them 2 years ago will stick in their memory and be that thing that lets them know that, there's people out there that care and doing good things and are just attempting to serve. Like, they'll be like, why did somebody freely give this to me? That's weird. Why didn't they want something back from me? That's odd, right? But these things stick with people in the long run. So I guess, with the freely giving part, drop the expectation of return in hopes that, thy will be done. Like, the creator has this figured out. All you really know about this whole service thing and this third density and this confusing place that we live is what you are about. And, if you set your intention to serve and widen your perception as to the infinite possibilities of the moment, you seek to serve. That's really all that's important. You go out and you freely give. And whatever happens, happens. If it happens for the positive, great. If something negative happens, well, maybe reevaluate how you maybe could have adjusted your service. But that's okay too, right? If things don't go perfectly, who knows? You don't know what's going to happen in the long run. Okay, so I've gone over freely give. Now we have to go over the other half of the coin, which this is the part I was mentioning that I think some people actually kind of suck at. So freely receiving. Now, I guess it depends on who you are, right? You obviously could be you might be a freely receiver and you might suck at freely giving. I suppose if you've practiced freely giving and you're attempting to be a charitable person and serve others, you may have this thing where you don't really feel comfortable receiving things. Now that, unfortunately, is going to be a bit of a problem. You might say, oh, I'm so humble and I don't worry about me, like, I can take care of myself. And to a certain degree, that's true and right, and you don't need to necessarily go out and begging for things, right? But if somebody wants to give you something, like, you do a favor for somebody. This happens all the time, right? Somebody does a favor for somebody, picks them up something from the store, and then the person wants to return the favor by, like, giving them $20 or something. And then that person says, no, I can't take your money. No, don't worry about it. It's all good. And there's this back and forth or this awkwardness of like, okay, is this person going to take my money, or do I have to take the thing that they've given me for free and feel like, that I've used this person? And that's all right? That's this thing that happens with life and the way that we interact with each other, and that's okay. And I'm not saying there's a correct answer to that scenario every time. But, both ways, like the person who bought something for you, if wanted to freely give that to you, then great. Maybe even that person didn't freely give something to you and they kind of are expecting something in return. Well, maybe you will want to return something just to be a part of the equation of reciprocity. I can't think of the word. You know what I'm trying to say. Reciprocation. So, it goes two ways, right? That person receiving the gift can say, no, I can't possibly take that. And then the person trying to receive the return money can say, no, don't worry, it was a gift. I don't know. It just sort of depends on the person. Like, if I'm being that person to say, no, please take this money because I really appreciate what you did for me, I might really want that person to take that thing and just so we can all just go about our days, right? It's like if somebody does something for me and I feel I would like to freely reciprocate that, then great. I don't want that to be put a roadblock in front of the flow, right? And then this is a way to think about all of this too, is just sort of like flow. Instead of thinking about giving and taking and receiving, think about those two things as pretty much the exact same thing, right? There is no separation between us, that we are all one. To give is to give from creator to creator, and to receive is from creator to creator. So what are we doing? We're partaking in the flow of the universe. We're partaking in the flow of energy. I suppose in my head, that is the easiest way to see it, where what I'm attempting to do is to keep the flow moving. I don't want to put up blocks of flow, right? I'm not trying to block things. So what would block things? Well, having an expectation of the outcome. I give this to you and I want so-and-so to happen. Well, you kind of blocked the flow, right? As opposed to just leaving it open to, well, this is great. I intend to give. And if I give and the person is happy, great. And if they feel they want to reciprocate something, that's great too. No problem. Expectation of outcome removed. All is well. I give for the sake of giving. And then I receive, I freely receive if somebody feels that they would like to reciprocate. And, I mentioned even that, like, with the way that I behave, right? I like to give little examples of things with my LOA of 1 Instagram and this podcast and all sorts of different things that I've attempted to do. I always struggle with the fact of offering something for money. I am somewhat averse to that whole money thing. Obviously, money's nice. It's energy and time, right? And I appreciate reciprocation, but I really do seek to freely give. I feel that for numerous reasons, right? It's that the information I present, I suppose, becomes more authentic, not only just in the delivering of the information, but through me too, right? Like, I then don't feel that I have to watch what I say for the sake of, like, not getting paid or something. Like, what I'm doing is I'm just seeking to freely give, and that somewhat protects that ego part of me that, obviously everybody would like to be comfortable and have money and not have to worry about abundance. But I feel like, your ego can step into play really easily more. We trick ourselves internally. I feel like the mind is a bit of a trickster, and it likes to say, oh yeah, I was doing this for charity. I was doing this for love. I was doing this for the good thing of it. But were you really, right? So, you don't expect to be perfect with yourself, but there is somewhat of a fake it till you make it. Like, at first, maybe freely giving isn't going to be easy. You have a very sort of scarcity mentality, right? It's going to be tough to give something away when you feel that you need something. But like, I've practiced this throughout my life for, I don't know, 10, 12 years or so, like a good portion of time. And I felt that, when I feel lack, is almost the time that I need to be more freely giving. It's like, if I feel that I'm living in lack, that means I've stopped the flow of freely receiving. Maybe I need to increase the flow somehow. Why do I do that? Well, let's go out and serve. Let's go give some things away, right? Like, there's been a couple of times where I've had like $0 in my bank account, and I don't know, I saw something online, a friend or some kind of like charity thing where it's not much, but maybe pitch like $5 or $10 towards a cause, and I don't know, it made me feel better, like increases the flow of everything. And I don't necessarily worry about the fact that there was a little bit of debt that took me into. It was more just that, like, yeah, it's okay. This was all is going to work out well. I'm not giving too much. It's not like I'm giving more than, I'm not trying to be unwise about this. I'm just give a little bit and try to keep that flow going. And right, did I give for the sake of receiving? Well, I don't think I did. Obviously, we all do something for something, I guess. But that's sort of the nature of service to others, is that, service to others includes service to self. If you're on the service to others oriented path, the idea is that you're not negating anything. You're respecting the service to self path and the service to others path. So I respect that, I need to help myself, and I at the same time help others as if they are equally worthy. Whereas a service to self path is just going to see that, it's going to negate the service to others path. It's going to say, look, all is for me to benefit me. I don't really care about you, right? And I want to briefly explain how when you freely give too, you allow, you get to be the example of how other people can freely give. So I was mentioning my page and how, I try to freely give. Well, part of this example would be that, when I started this podcast, I thought to myself, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can start the podcast and you can put it sort of behind like a paywall, such as Patreon, and basically I can only offer this podcast to Patreon subscribers who are willing to pay for the knowledge, right? Doesn't that sound just icky though? In my head, it really does. So what I decided instead was that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freely offer this information. And then if people would like to freely support, well, they are free to do so. And, I thank you guys for that too. Like, not even just the Patreon subscribers, but, people that send me a little PayPal thing every once in a while. You're freely giving. You're taking part in the same process. It's like you're freely giving to me, which allows me to freely give to everybody else as well. So it's like your support is actually helping support me, which is helping me freely give to everybody. So, I feel like you can see how this worked out better. It took a little bit of faith, right? I had to sort of start from scratch, but the faith aspect of it, just knowing that hopefully if I go out to serve, people will, I don't know, just support me in whatever way they feel is appropriate. Their service, and like for Patreon example, most people when they sign up for Patreon on people's pages, they get something out of it. And I'm sorry, you don't really get anything from my Patreon other than just to know that you're here supporting me, freely giving to me. And I immensely appreciate it. And it allows me more time and effort to put into these things. So, right, it's just like a brief example how I freely give and then allows other people to freely give. And just this beautiful relationship between us all, where I've somewhat now attracted like-minded seekers who obviously share a similar philosophy, or they wouldn't be willing to subscribe to those types of things and support. So I'll just take this moment to say thank you, everybody, very, very much. I extremely appreciate it. And I'm really happy that we're all able to be part of this freely give, freely receive equation. Thank you. Okay, so giving without expectation, session 31.5. I'm just going to read the last sentence of their answer, Ra's answer, and they speak about the green ray. So the green ray is the heart chakra. Whenever I say freely give, freely receive, I actually picture the green. I picture the heart chakra for some reason. They're just intimately related. Now, actually, before I read you this section, in the very beginning of the raw material, literally session 1.0, the first one, right? What do they say? They say, was service freely given? They ask a lot of questions, but they ask, was service freely given, right? When you served today, was it freely given? It's a really important part here. And what do they mean freely given? Well, did you give without expectation? So session 31.5 indicates here, quote, the green ray is one of complete universality of love. This is giving without expectation of a return. I mean, do I really need to go into it much? Not really, right? If you see everyone as one and worthy of infinite worth, the same worth as you, because we are all one, and why would you hurt yourself, right? Well, of course you're just going to give without expectation of return. An expectation of return is reaffirming the illusion of separateness. You're saying, hey, I'm my separate thing. I'm going to go serve this other separate thing over here, and I hope that separate thing returns some stuff to me, right? Versus like if you're out there giving freely, you see yourself as all those other people in sort of another form in a way, and you say, I'm here to help you. Helping you helps me because you are me and I am you, and we are all intimately related. Beautiful. Okay, so now we can talk about session 34.9. 34.9, Ra indicates, universal love freely given is more to be desired than principalities or even the rearrangement of peoples or political structures. So, our brain, our mind always likes to rationalize things. Well, we should freely give except when, but right? Fill in the blank. Well, no, not true. So universal love freely given is more to be desired than principalities. So principalities is like, I don't know, sort of a philosophy, right? Or the rearrangement of peoples or political structures. So even like countries, politics, all that stuff, right? If it's not sort of based around freely giving, well, then it's not, I would suggest it's not of the heart, right? Heart work, entering the heart, the fourth chakra, heart chakra, the center of love. That is a freely giving thing. Like everything come from there should come with love and compassion, no expectation of return, freely giving, freely received. Others are yourselves, you are others. And so then, I wanted to mention too that even, you pass they mention how the heart chakra is on the service to others path. The heart chakra is the springboard to the higher centers. And as I searched freely giving before I started this podcast, like if you go to law of1.info, you can type in terms and then you can search for terms that are in the material. So that's what I did here, is I searched freely giving or freely given. And I noticed this little part, how they say, after the heart, the entity is going to be concerned with freely giving communication, which is after the heart, is the throat chakra, and freely giving of intelligent energy, which is of the third eye chakra, the one above the throat chakra. So you'll notice that, once you hit the heart, right, the energy goes up from the bottom up from the chakras, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So once you've hit the heart, you've sort of past the illusion of separation, right? Come into the heart of union with one. And then we move up and we freely give communication and we freely give intelligent energy. And I mean, intelligent energy is hard to define, but you could kind of consider that like healing, presence, just being, right? Being around certain people and they're just somewhat healing, or just those look into the eyes. It's basically unspeakable energy. Okay, so then let's just briefly talk about the law of attraction. That always triggered me reading law of attraction material because it's so shallow. I'm not saying everything, right? Obviously, to generalize we're going to miss the anomalies on the end who are truly properly positive and talking about those things. But let's be honest, right? Most people talking about the law of attraction are just sort of, it's not even wrong. I would just consider them like the baby steps on the beginning of the path. It's just sort of like understanding that the universe is one and that it's more, there's more to life than just what you see. And the way that you visualize and use your mind and the way that you orient yourself is really important when it comes to attraction and abundance and all that. So then I suppose, right, I think the best way to do it is to define abundance. What is abundance to you, right? And I think that really is the difference between maybe a shallow seeker and a non-shallow seeker, I don't know, deeper seeker, right? Well, abundance. So a shallow seeker is going to see abundance as like, look, I just want money and free time and comfortability, right? I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be abundant and I don't want to have to work or think or do too much work. I don't know. I don't want to feel in lack, I suppose, right? But so that's their abundance mindset. But like, if once you realize that life is about more than just the material world, right? Life is about service and loving others and sharing love and being compassionate, and I don't know, this is a sorrowful path, right? Like, Ra calls themselves the brothers and sisters of sorrow, and I would suggest that you listening to this are very much feeling what I'm talking about, how you understand the sorrow of this earth and this third density and the shadowland that we live in, and the least we can do is go out and try to share that love and light, that literal light within you, and light up this dark place. And to me, that is true abundance. True abundance is giving hope and love and faith or whatever it is, that you have to radiate out to other people. So I'm going to suggest that if you redefine your redefine abundance in your head, then you may sort of start to see things as easier to freely give. Now, all of a sudden, right, you only have so much money in your bank account and you're thinking, I can't freely give any of this away. Well, maybe you will start to rethink about what abundance really is, right? Is abundance in your heart more valuable than abundance in your bank account? Well, that's something that you need to think about. And so, as you sort of redefine abundance as just like your ability to serve, and not necessarily your ability to have money, then you can start to see things that are truly abundant: your health, your ability to communicate, your ability to freely give, your ability to love. Just so many things that we just take for granted, and we think that everything is just about the money and the physicality. And I really just think that, the more that you're able to freely give, the more that you will see the return. And it's not necessarily why you do it, but hey, that's the great thing about karma, right? Is karma's only a problem if you're out there doing sort of bad things. If you're out there trying to serve and do good things, well, karma's great. It'll come back to you. And even from other sort of LL research materials suggests that, things you give away now will come back to you tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold even. Maybe not even in this lifetime. Maybe just back when after you die and you're in your spirit world, you'll be like, oh wow, that really was something, and I couldn't feel it now, but now I really understand, and wow, that was so awesome what I did. I don't know, but that's the idea, right? You go out there, you just try to do your best, set your intention to serve. You're not gonna always have the amazing money abundance to share and all that greatness, but that's okay. It's more about your ability to freely give, freely receive, keep that flow open. Freely giving doesn't mean money either, right? Freely giving is like just giving your time, giving your service, giving effort. Honestly, even time is a big one, right? Like money is time. Any time you spend just serving with somebody, even listening to them, right? Like there's just so much ways to serve. Like you don't even need to go out and tell someone about spiritual philosophy. You literally can just be there as a listening ear, and you are freely giving, right? Just by existing and just allowing a space for other people to vent and things like that. So yeah, I think if you redefined what abundance is, you may find it being a lot easier to freely give. And if you don't find it easy to freely give, honestly challenge yourself. Like I kind of did that with myself in my mind, and it was like, oh, I feel this lack. And like, ugh, I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how to get out of this mindset. And I would just force myself to give away things, like honestly, things that I felt that were somewhat important to me. Like something that I would like put up on the wall. Like I skateboard sometimes, so I have like some like what would you call it? Like decoration type skateboards, which are somewhat fancy, and like I put them up on the wall. But what good does it do it on the wall, right? Some of them I took down and I like gave them to like little kids at the skate park who have like crappy skateboards and just right. Like the difference is like that thing sitting on my wall and I look at it once in a while and think, oh cool. Or I'd go out and give it to somebody who, maybe didn't have money to buy a skateboard for a whole year or two, and now like they've got this thing that's just going to make their life incredibly better for a long period of time. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't challenge myself to just go out there and freely give and try to challenge my vision of lack and change it into something better. And then just remember, right, that two sides of the coin: freely give, freely receive. We must be open to receiving as well. You don't want to block the flow in any area. If you're going to be working on freely giving, well, you need to be open to freely receiving. And the universe will probably set you up with that, where someone may want to give something to you, and it might not even be exactly what you're wanting, but that's okay. You open yourself to it. Same thing, have no expectations as to how this receiving is going to happen. Do the best with what you can with it. Let me just check through my notes, make sure we haven't missed anything. So, freely give, freely receive. Things come not to those positively oriented, but through such beings. Okay, so maybe I should just reiterate that again. You're right. I think the idea with the law of attraction is that they kind of convince people that, hey, the more you become positive, the more abundant you will be. Whereas the law of one is stating, look, things come not to those people who just are positively oriented. Things come through them. Does that mean that you won't also be abundant? Right? It's possible. You can be abundant and have things come through you. Two things can be true at the same time. But I would just think that you don't want to get these things mixed up and think that it's the positivity that allows you to become abundant. It's more just that Your positivity should allow you to orient yourself towards service, and as you orient your service or your will towards service, right, your will is increased, and with that increased will bring increased flow and abundance and energy, intelligent energy. And just going through my notes, act as if abundance is real, fake it till you make it. Well, this is part of it. You have to act as if it's real, right? If you wouldn't freely give, if you didn't really feel that the universe was going to provide you and take care of you and that all is well. And that's part of this is faith. I feel like if you have faith that all is well and that the Creator is going to take care of you and the people around you, and even if not, and it's your turn to die or whatever, right? Well, so be it. Thy will be done, my friends. So, if you're freely giving, and you really are freely giving from your heart, right? Then you're acting as if abundance is real. You're not just pretending. You're like, yes, this is real. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. But if not, that's okay. Fake it till you make it, right? The mind needs to sort of be molded into the thing and transformed, and it takes time. So if you need to sort of just act like you're freely giving it first in order to just work with these energies and get them to, sort of be smoother in your head, great. It's awesome too. You don't need to be so hard on yourself about all those things. So giving without expectation of return, universal free love is given is more desired than principalities or rearrangement of peoples. Everything past the heart is freely giving communication, intelligent energy. Was service freely given today? Law of attraction, what is abundance? I think we covered it all, my friends. Well, at least that I can think of right now until I go and edit this, and I always think of other things that I wish I should have added, but who cares? This is the greatness of the heart. I am just here to freely give a spontaneous podcast to you, and I hope that we are able to communicate some of those concepts, because freely giving and freely receiving it's just always been a big part of my life, and I think that, if I can suggest that you attempt to try some of these things and keep that in mind, you may find some magic and synchronicity and you're obviously going to be stepping into service more too. So it's going to be just very fulfilling all around, I would suggest. So thank you everybody for listening to this podcast. If you appreciate my service, right, freely giving, I will freely receive. If you want to join my Patreon, I really, really appreciate it. That allows me to keep doing, podcasts like this on a weekly basis and gives me a bit more time to do that instead of maybe spending more time at work. So thank you so much. And if you would also, there's a link for the PayPal. Send me a one-time donation. There's my little shop that you can pick up a sweet Ankh hoodie at. So this is all at the1infinitecreator.com, and you can scroll down and there's my little support links there. Same website is the1infinitecreator.com, where I have links to the Law of One material, which is from LL Research, the group who provides us all this material for free. You notice how everything is free? Nice, hey? So thank you so much to those guys. And yes, other than that, like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, maybe tell me something that you're thinking you want to hear for future podcasts. I will write them down on my little pieces of paper and hopefully work that into a future podcast. So thank you guys so much for the support and the love. Freely give, freely receive. Take care.